I have this square sign that I got from Dollar Tree in the fall, this piece of scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby's Country Roads paper book, and a cross from Walmart, a heart from a pack at Hobby Lobby, this little mini grapevine wreath from Hobby Lobby, and a hymnal page that I coffee stained and distressed with my subscription group this morning. The first thing I'm going to do is cover up this printed and glittered design side of the board so that it has a nice neat back, and then I can start fresh with a clean blank side. I'm going to trim the excess off the edges and then use my mini sander to clean it up a little bit more. Then I'm going to trace around the edges of my board so that I can cut a piece of the paper that fits the top of my sign. Next, I'm going to brush on a full layer of Mod Podge and then apply my paper on top, straighten it up a little bit, and press it down. Then I'm going to go ahead and apply my hymnal paper. I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge on the back and then put it on the paper where I want it to be, slightly off to the side. And to make this sheet, I simply coffee stained the paper that I printed out and then used some distressing ink and a blending brush around the edges to make it look aged. Then I'm going to take my sanding block and go around the edges where I glued that scrapbook paper on to clean those up as well. You want to make sure that you are only going in the direction from top to bottom, not back and forth. Then I'm going to sand each corner a little extra, and I'm also going to go over the top of the paper because I want it to look really distressed and old and vintage. Now I'm going to use some of this distress ink that I used on the hymnal page and go around the edges of my project. I'm going to kind of go heavy on those corners and just give it a nice coat around the edges to define it. Then I'm going to take my blending brush and add a little more, do some shading, and really just blend it all in, pull it towards the middle, and make it look nice and aged. And you can just see how it gives it a nice shading effect. Then I'm going to take my Mod Podge and start spreading it over the top to seal it in. I'm going to move from the center up towards the top to spread it. And you want to make sure that you don't overspread it because sometimes it will pick up some of that ink and smear it on your project. A little bit of that is okay, of course, but you just don't want to overdo that. Now I'm going to take some of this burnt umber by Folk Art and add it to a little bit of water in this dish and start giving this cross a nice coverage. And the reason that I'm doing it this way is because I want it to have more of a stained look versus a painted look. Once that's nice and dry, I'm going to use this distressing ink to go around the edges, again focusing heavy on those corners and any places where I feel like wood would just naturally kind of weather and age. Then I'm going to use my blending brush just to kind of hit some of the spots that I missed or that I feel like just need a little extra attention. Now for my heart, I'm going to start by using this blushed pink by Folk Art. It's chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the top side of my heart. And once that's dry, I'm going to use this antique wax by Waverly to start brushing on around the edges and pulling towards the center. And then I'm also going to add some across the top of my heart. And you can also use a wet wipe to kind of blend that in a little bit more or take off any places where you may have put more than you wanted. And once I get that just right, I'm going to use that ink pad to go around the edges and do a little distressing with that as well. And now I'm going to start gluing some of my pieces on. I have this E6000 that I'm applying for some really strong bond, and then a little bit of hot glue that I'm going to put on here for an instant bond while that one dries. Before I glue my heart on, I have some fabric strips that I ripped, kind of a pink, peachy pink, and a muslin neutral color, and I'm just going to kind of gather them up, arrange them to where you can see the different colors, and then tie them in a knot across the top of my heart. And once I have my knot tied, I'm going to take one of those groups and just tuck them underneath so that they're both hanging down. And then now's the time that you can kind of cut your end pieces the length that you want them to be, spread out the edges so that you can see the layers as you want to see them. Then I'm going to add a little dab of hot glue under that knot so that it stays in place. See where I kind of want it to sit, which pieces are going to touch on my cross. Add some hot glue and press it on. Then I have some greenery here that I'm going to start adding at the bottom of my cross. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I decided after filming to swap these out with some different leaves that I liked better. So that just shows you that everything is fixable. And I want to add my grapevine wreath here on top of this greenery. I have some faux barbed wire that I made with some jewelry wire, and I'm going to wrap that around that grapevine wreath and kind of make it look like a crown of thorns. I tried to use real barbed wire, but it was way too thick, so I just kind of had an idea and thought, well, I'll just make some fake barbed wire, and I think it turned out pretty neat. Then I'm going to use some hot glue here to attach the sides that are going to be touching to the bottom of the cross. And I'm also going to add some of the greenery to the top of the cross to provide some balance and pull that element of the project up to the top as well. And I also will be switching these leaves out. I decided to add this little blush pink rose in the middle of my crown, and then take my distressing ink and go over these parts of the project, just kind of aging them a little bit. Now I can kind of tell at this point that I'm not liking these leaves, so I'm adding some of these blush pink leaves on to give it a little of a different element and try to kind of blend all that in a little bit better. Then for my hanger, I'm going to take more of that jewelry wire, and I'm going to kind of feel those holes that were in the original piece and poke that wire through from the back side. Then I'm just using my little tool here to make some little twisties, wrapping it around this brush to give it a few curly cues and just kind of make it look like a cute wire hanger. And here's my project as it looks so far. You'll be able to see in the following clip where I swap those leaves out. This project is such a wonderful reminder of the fact that God is love, and He demonstrated His love first to us. And without that, we couldn't even celebrate Valentine's Day or love. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope it inspired you to get a little crafty.